We'll move on to your next bill. I think the bill of the hour here. Quickly, Mr. Wood, before you begin, I just wanted to make a couple quick comments, just housekeeping comments to the public and to colleagues. Today's hearing is televised, so we will be on the California channel and internal. And I understand there's been a request from members of the audience to take pictures and even to take some video. That's okay. I will allow that as long as it's not disruptive. So if you can just be just aware of everybody that's surrounding you as you do that, I would appreciate that. So having said that, Mr. Wood, we are moving on to item number 1, AB 243, medical marijuana cultivation.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members.
We have a quorum. Let me hold you there. Mr. Wood, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Before you now is Assembly Bill 243. In 1996, voters approved Proposition 215, also known as the Compassionate Use Act. As such, a person can grow marijuana for medical use under a prescription, referred to as a 215 card. And over time, a system has evolved where patients can purchase medical marijuana at dispensaries. For the past 18 years, medical marijuana growers and medical marijuana patients have lived in a murky gray area where state and federal law are in direct conflict, and quite frankly, it has prevented us from establishing reasonable environmental protections to already impacted watersheds. Currently, there are very few environmental regulations for medical marijuana growers. Adding to that, large, flourishing, and destructive grows by people motivated only by profit, and we are seeing unimaginable environmental damages to the North Coast region of the state. We are seeing unpermitted land grading, road construction, illegal stream diversions, discharge of sediments and pollutants into waterways, as well as contaminations of water and soil by pesticides, rodenticides, fertilizers, and fuels. Mammals, birds, and fish are dying horrible deaths because of poisons left to protect crops that are left behind long after growers leave an area. Last year, a thriving and healthy stream, Sproul Creek in Humboldt County, went dry for the first time that anyone can remember, which devastated the water's ecosystem. Home to 5 endangered salmon species, including the coho salmon. Unfortunately, state officials believe the stream went dry from illegal diversions of marijuana cultivators. In an effort to protect the environment last year, the governor approved a $1.8 million appropriation to create a multi-agency pilot program in Northern California called the Watershed Enforcement Team, or WET. The WET consists of a partnership of the State Water Resources Control Board, the North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board, and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife to minimize harm to wildlife and watersheds. AB 243 will continue the momentum of WET by establishing parameters that can guide statewide standards. My bill directs all 9 regional water quality control boards to develop environmental protections to address wastewater discharges from marijuana farms. But we cannot address the environment without looking at the source, cultivation. AB 243 also seeks to establish a regulatory system that places some basic parameters around the cultivation of medical marijuana. As written, my bill also establishes a program to help law enforcement properly identify medical marijuana plants. The bill also puts into place some basic standards for indoor and outdoor medical marijuana farmers by requiring a permit to be obtained to cultivate, minimum distance from schools, ensuring that farms are securely enclosed, posting requirement of a state-issued medical marijuana ID. As written, the county would run this program but can opt out of being the responsible entity, in which case a state agency would take responsibility for running the program. These recent amendments were my attempt to ensure local control and flexibility. Often at times I hear that one-size-fits-all approach rarely works for localities, especially for my rural communities. Amendments were an attempt to respond to that demand. I understand there are some concerns with my recent amendments, and I commit to working with stakeholders through their concerns. One was completely inadvertent. I meant to include cities as a regulatory agency. I did not mean for counties to be able to supersede municipal powers. So I am committed to make in the next series of amendments to add that cities can actually regulate medical marijuana cultivation in their cities without regard to the county. I also understand that there are a lot of stakeholders who have been working on marijuana issue for quite some time. But I feel that the environmental concerns have been left out of the conversation. My district is ground zero for marijuana activities, production, and environmental damages. My bill simply seeks to address the environmental issues affecting my district, where an estimated 65% of the marijuana consumed in the United States is grown. My recent amendments continue and expand my intent to create some environmental regulations around medical marijuana farms, and I believe that the cultivation oversight, potentially leading to a control over number of plants, is a way to protect water that is already in grossly over-affected watersheds. Here to speak in support, Reed Addis of Caltrat, Rico Mastrodonato from the Trust for Public Land, and Hezekiah Allen from the Emerald Growers Association. Thank you.
Great, thank you. First witness.
Thank you, Chair, committee members. My name is Hezekiah Allen. I'm the Executive Director of the Emerald Growers Association. We are a rapidly growing association of medical cannabis farmers and related businesses. At this point, we represent 150 farmer members in 15 counties, and we have supporters that are patients and other businesses that are related in several more counties. Today, we have members from across the state. I counted 11 counties represented at our lunch today, and we've actually asked our members not to each speak individually. I will ask them to rise and support when I close my comments, just in respect of time. Over the last 9 months, we have worked very closely with the State Water Board and the Regional Water Boards and the Department of Fish and Wildlife in developing the Watershed Enforcement Team. The commitment to outreach, to collaboration, and to acknowledging that there is an environmental and public safety crisis caused by this unregulated agriculture has been very empowering to us as a community. It's very difficult for our community of farmers to come out of the regulated gray area and into this conversation. And being here today is a tremendous honor. It's a tremendous pleasure. Thank you, Jim Wood, for bringing this bill to the committee. I also want to note that being here in the Agricultural Committee is a tremendously important step for us. For several years, I've been working on this committee on this issue, and the response has been sort of we've been treated as the bad actors. We've been treated as criminals. And to be here today to really be able to say, no, we are small farmers. We are small farmers that are unregulated largely at this point, and we are here in support of increased regulation. We are here today extending our hands and our good faith, asking to work in partnership with the state government, with local governments, with local jurisdictions to solve this crisis, and to work together to bring our businesses into regulation and to move forward into a well-regulated community of small businesses. And so I really want to say that we've started here with natural resources. We've started looking at the environmental impacts, and that is a fantastic first step. We're working with the author. We've proposed some amendments and ideas for how we may help expedite this transition to regulation through access to existing incentive programs that exist for other farmers in the state, how we might encourage our membership to more quickly move into these regulatory programs. And our hope is that with the momentum we build here with AB 243, that we can very quickly move this entire industry, cannabis cultivation, cannabis farmers, into a reasonably regulated environment where labor, where the environment, where our businesses have the certainty that we need, and we can start to build a future that really does work for our businesses, for the watersheds, and for all of the people of the state of California. So with that, I would ask the folks here that have come to support this bill with us to please rise and show your support. There's several more, dozens of farmers in the hallway that couldn't make it in the room today, and thank you for the time, and we do urge an aye vote today. We are going to work with the author to dial in some specifics. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much. I understand that's probably the rest of the group?
That sounds like them.
Supervisor John Fenley, Trinity County, Southern Trinity, District 5. With amendment, I support this bill, specifically Section 2.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, or good afternoon. Doug Teeter, Supervisor, Butte County. Again, just like Trinity, I support with amendment of Section 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Vice Chair Gallagher.
Well, Assemblyman Wood, I appreciate that you're trying to tackle this issue, and it is a big issue. Many counties have opted not to have a permit program because by issuing a permit, you could run into federal problems because growing marijuana is still against the law federally, and the counties don't want to be put in a position where they are permitting something that is illegal by federal law. So a lot of the counties have adopted ordinances that are set up as nuisance ordinances. They're not approving or disapproving of the grow. They're just dealing with it as a public nuisance. This bill in Section 2 sets up a permit program that counties have to adopt. That puts them in a bind. So that's one big issue. And by the way, if you're illegally diverting water right now, you're not a farmer, you're a criminal. And you're making it harder for all of us to survive this drought. And that is it should be said, that is not something that should be promoted in any way, shape, or form. And really, our government should be doing something about that and penalizing and going after those who are illegally diverting water.
I recognize that the additional guidelines that seek to regulate the actual cultivation of marijuana creates conflicts with other pending legislation. But you have to start somewhere. I like the way I might be doing it wrong better than the way some people are not doing it at all.
Great. So if we can, with that closing, Madam Secretary, you please call the roll.
The motion is due pass to environmental safety and toxic materials. Perea?
Aye.
Perea, aye. Gallagher? No. Gallagher, no. Cooper?
Aye.
Cooper, aye. Dodd? Eggman? Grove? Grove, no. Irwin?
Aye.
Irwin, aye. Dally?
Not voting.
Dally, not voting. Quirk?
Aye.
Quirk, aye. Salas? Eggman? On AB 243, the motion is due pass to ESTM.
May I make a comment, Mr. Chair? I mean, it's too. But I will say I also have issues with the individual growers having to get permits.
And I will say I get it.
It's on call. How many votes does it have?
One. It has gone.
That vote is, the bill has 5. It needs 1 more, so we'll put it on call.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Appreciate it.
Mr. Wood.